In 18th century Scotland, Katharine Nairn, accused of murdering her husband and sleeping with his brother, found infamy not for these reasons, but for her actions when incarcerated. She was the daughter of Sir Robert Nairne, and by blood she was related to many wealthy and prosperous families. When she was around 21, Katharine married Thomas Ogilvie of East Milne in Glenisla near Kirriemuir in Angus in January 1765, but he was many years older than her, being 40 at the time of their wedding. He was wealthy, therefore seen as a good match. However, his younger brother Patrick, a lieutenant in the Gordon Highlanders, had just returned from the East Indies, and within weeks of her marriage, she was having an affair with him. On 6th June, her husband mysteriously died, and this raised suspicions. On 14th June, both she and Patrick were apprehended, accused by the authorities of poisoning Ogilvie with arsenic Patrick had allegedly bought in Brechin. Another indictment against them was that she and Patrick had given in to their inordinate desires between January and June, both in Ogilvie's house and in the outhouses. This was basically a charge of incest, as she was his sister-in-law. Sheriff Substitute George Campbell had the pair thrown into jail in Forfar. They were then transferred to Edinburgh. When Katharine arrived in Leith, the crowd had expected her to act piously, but they were sorely disappointed. In the end, the authorities had to rescue her from the crowd. Following questioning by James Balfour of Pilrig, Sheriff Substitute of Edinburgh, they were thrown into the old tollbooth jail. Yet there was another couple living in the house at the time, Anne Clark and Alexander Ogilvie, the younger brother. Both Thomas and Patrick had no children, therefore there was a fortune to be had should he mysteriously die, and the blame would be squarely placed on his young wife. The pair had pointed the finger at Katharine and Patrick for the poisoning. In court, Anne alluded to the fact that Katharine had plotted to kill Thomas. She claimed she had crept upstairs and heard the lovers plotting. In court, she claimed that on Sunday 19th May, everyone had gone to church except Katharine and Patrick, and that was when she heard them having intercourse. Both Katharine and Patrick were held in separate cells at the old tollbooth to await their fate. However, this young lady was having none of it. The pair were found guilty on Wednesday 14th August. The passing of the death sentence was delayed by the Lords due to the fact that she was pregnant. She was attended to by Mrs. Shields, the midwife and public practitioner, and gave birth on 27th January 1766. The two became friendly, and a plan was hatched to allow Katharine to escape the noose, which was scheduled for 10th March. For 3 or 4 days, Mrs. Shields pretended to have toothache and went in and out the toll booth with her face covered with shawls and cloth, groaning in pain as she did so. She managed to keep up the pretence and smuggled in shawls for Katharine, unbeknown to the guards. The guards became used to her coming and going, moaning in pain, her face hidden. Then, on Saturday 15th March at around 7 o'clock, they saw her as usual, but it wasn't her. Instead, it was Katharine who came down the stairs that evening, her head covered with the shawls, and her hands on her face, moaning in agony. As she passed the inner door, the warder slapped her on the back and called her a howling old Jezebel, adding that he hoped she would trouble him no more. Katharine made it out. Furtively she made it to the home of James Erskine, Lord Alva, in James Court, thinking it was the home of her father's agent. A footboy opened the door. He was holding a candle, and as he'd been at her trial, he recognised her instantly. He raised the alarm, but she fled down a neighbouring close. She found sanctuary for a time near to the old toll booth, in a cellar halfway down the back stairs of Parliament Close. This belonged to her uncle, the advocate William Nairne, later Lord Dunsinane. Arrangements were hastily made, and she was taken to Dover in a post-chaise by one of his clerks, James Bremner. He was terrified the whole journey, thinking they would be caught by the authorities, especially as she seemed to be rather frivolous throughout. At Dover, Katharine changed into the uniform of an officer and safely reached the continent. There are several accounts of what happened to her after this. One is that she fled to the United States, where she remarried and died an old woman in her bed, surrounded by her children. Another said she married a Dutchman and had a large family. Yet another was that she entered a convent in Lille in Belgium until the time of the French Revolution, when she and others escaped to England, where she died an old woman in the 19th century. The guards at the toll booth didn't even realise she was missing until between 1 and 2 the following afternoon. A search of the city took place, and a messenger was dispatched onto the main road to London to try and trace her or overtake her, but without success. On 16th March, a warrant was issued for her immediate arrest by Sir Gilbert Elliot, the Lord Justice Clerk. She was described as middle-sized and strong-made, has a high nose, black eyebrows, and of a pale complexion. A reward of 100 guineas was also offered by the Lord Commissioners of the Treasury for her capture, but it was never paid out. Meanwhile, Patrick Ogilvie managed to secure several royal reprieves, but in the end he faced the gallows and was hanged at the Grassmarket on 13th November 1765. To the end, he protested his innocence. In a letter he wrote the day before his execution, he stated, "I hope those who best knew me will do me justice when I am gone." He went on, "Of both crimes for which I am now doomed to suffer, I declare my innocence." His execution didn't go smoothly. After the noose was placed around his neck, it slipped and he fell down. It was secured again, and this time he was hanged until he was dead. As for the baby Katharine had given birth to, she died at the toll booth aged 2 months. But mystery remains. Could Anne and Alexander have carried out the murder themselves? With Katharine and Patrick out of the way, the money would have potentially been inherited by Alexander, and greed is a good motive for murder. It's an intriguing case, and one that's still debated to this day. If you enjoyed this episode of Scotland's History, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.